This is CPE 133. This is digital design course, and this is the first day of lecture online. I will be talking most of the stuff in person, hopefully. And so what we're going to do is go over the syllabus and some other important items, as well as a course overview. Okay, so this slide has some grades of when I taught the course a long time ago, and it gives you an idea of the spread of grades. And this one, the overall GPA was kind of low on this one. It was higher in the last quarter that I taught this, which was fall 2019. Keep in mind that the CPE department has broken away from the EE and the CS departments. CPE used to be a program. It is now a department. So this is a huge task, and we're still in the middle of it. There's like a monumental division of resources and tasks and responsibilities. Still working things out. So expect problems. Keep in mind it's new to everyone, and if you run into the problem, just be patient with it, please. So these are some of the highlights from the syllabus. There are two grading scales on there, and the issue is essentially that the quizzes are optional. So the quizzes will be online. If you choose to take the quizzes, I'll drop the lowest one. If you don't choose to take them, the weighting of those quizzes will transfer to the finals. And essentially that means you don't have to take the quizzes if you don't want, and that weighting will go into the finals. Additionally, what I added, which you won't see in a written version, is there's two minimum requirements for the course. You got to do a certain amount of experiments to get a certain grade that's listed in the syllabus. Additionally, you got to get a passing grade on both the lecture and lab final to get a passing grade in the course. So the software for the course is the Vado Webpack, which you can download from the Xilinx website. Additionally, you need a digital and Basis 3 board, which there are typically a bunch of them in the lab. It always helps if you have your own board. Certainly you can use this board for 2 courses. So the laboratory is the biggest aspect of this course, and so the idea is you're doing a lot of stuff in lab, like a lot of experiments. So you can form lab groups. Choose the best. If you want a larger lab group, talk to me in advance about it. So for every experiment you do, there's a quote lab submission, which is not a lab report. It's something less than a lab report, just due to the number of students in the classroom. So essentially these submissions, which is your pseudo lab report, is due 3 class meetings after the experiment was assigned. So I suggest try to get the experiments done a little bit earlier. So typical day in class, well, I'm not sure what a typical day in class is. I think it will change. So initially I won't be there. TA will be there in the lab. I will be available during class times on Zoom. So I expect it is a flipped classroom. I expect you to attend the lectures prepared. So that means doing the reading or watching the videos, but most importantly, just be ready to ask questions. So I envision each day opening up with a short description of that day's tasks, and there's essentially plenty of time to ask questions, either Zoom or of your TA in the lab. So there's always a question of how you're going to learn this material, and I just don't know how to answer this. All the material I have for the class is listed on Canvas, which includes 2 textbooks with solution manuals. There's also a lab manual. So there's supporting lectures for both textbooks and for the lab experiments as well. So it's your mission to make this work. For example, the same material in the book is in the lectures, is in the video. So you may not want to do both. You may want to watch the videos and not read it, or vice versa. I've had students do both. So the course itself is driven by the labs and the quizzes. I don't collect homework. The quizzes I don't really care a lot about. To me, they're just signposts for you to see how you're doing. The issue is I'm not going to hold a bad grade in week 2 against you in week 12 of the course. That just doesn't seem fair. So I expect people to ask a lot of questions. I do expect people to kind of find their own path to success in this course, and I will do my best to support whatever path that is. So the course format initially is going to be, I'm at home on Zoom, and there'll be a TA there in person. I will be back as soon as it's a little bit more safe. I'll leave it at that. Keep in mind, this is a course that in engineering, there's a lot of reading at first, and that's before the labs start. And once the lab starts, they get more and more challenging through the quarter. Keep in mind, when the lab starts, you'll be doing two things simultaneously, which is learning digital design and learning Verilog. So I know other professors don't ask you to do designs. They give you the designs and have you implement them in Verilog. I won't do that. I will ask you to do designs. It makes for probably a more challenging course, but you'll know the material better. And lastly here, don't let the initial slow pace of the course fool you. It picks up fast. Don't fall behind. I think the biggest problems with CP33 is that students are looking for the formula to plug into to get the right answer, and it's just not going to happen. This is a design course. What you're going to see is that there's no one correct solution to any problem, and essentially also getting it wrong is generally part of the solution. So what I like to say is, I think I say it in another slide, is that the design process is circular, and expect to get it wrong, go back and fix it, and then come back and solve it. Cal Poly is challenging, certainly more challenging in a high school and a community college. If you were first in the class in a high school, community college, you may not be so at Cal Poly without extra work. So do not put off learning this course. You're not going to be able to wing it in the last few days of the course. What's going to make this course work is asking a lot of questions. There is a diversity statement in an abbreviated one in the syllabus, not a full one. I'm not going to go over it here. The idea, in short, is I believe everyone in this class, because you've made it here, has the ability to succeed in this class. And I'm going to support that as best I can. So also students come from all sorts of different backgrounds. It's my job to support their learning styles as much as I can. I will do my best to be equitable, and I don't even make the claim to treat people equally. I try to give people what they need and what they want. Big issues here is like Cal Poly, yeah, big name school and all that stuff. Don't anyone tweak you or intimidate you. Don't buy into the hype. We're all here working hard. We're all trying to do the best we can, and generally speaking, your hard work is in one way or another rewarded at Cal Poly. Certainly don't let other people's knowledge or their position intimidate you. People got to where they were, generally speaking, with hard work, and they had to put in the time to learn the material, as will you also. So just keep in mind, you're not less of anything because you don't know it. You're actually here to learn it, and that's the whole idea. So personal information, I always say a little bit of stuff. I grew up in a very white town. I did K through 12 in that white town, and it was very isolating, and it's very, very unchallenging. I was pretty much bored the whole time. So I pretty much things were kind of bored until at 16 I discovered music, and I spent the next 6 or 7 years working as a musician and working in a grocery store. So I started back in college at a community college when I was 22 years old, and then I started Cal Poly when I was 25. So I have an electrical engineering degree from Cal Poly. So there's always a ton of pressure for me to perform at every level, which was bad. And I always felt like it was Cal Poly or any college was about testing you rather than helping you learn. And I'm certainly not going to do that. Additionally, I work as a luthier and in all my extra time here. And if you got a violin you need fixing, I can probably fix it for you. My main requirement in this class is that you learn the material by week 12. And that means if you do bad on a quiz on week 3, I'm going to pretty much make sure it doesn't count against you. When I was a student, I did pretty good, but I didn't learn anything. I was really good at memorizing solutions and guessing what professors would put on exams. So my whole teaching approach is to make sure you can't do that. You got to learn the material. I will test you on learning that material. I have a respect policy, which is just kind of an in-person policy. That means if I'm talking, I just want you to be quiet. If you need to check your phone or check your laptop or check the desktop, that's fine too. So no need to hide that. If you need to take a call, just take it outside the room. That's if I'm talking. If the lab's just going normally, just don't even worry about it. Cheating policy, only cheating is when you don't take your own exam. If you have other people's material from previous courses, I encourage you to use that material to help you learn. I just don't want, essentially, I don't want to see, I changed the labs a little bit. So if you submit something from someone else's lab and do not acknowledge that you took it from someone else's lab, that's when I get a little bit not pleased, we'll put it that way. My quirks are that I can't hear very well. I also like people to treat each other with respect, and by all means, I had this here before the pandemic. Don't come to class sick. So keep in mind that that design is a process, and it's not like a straight linear path to the solution. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to go back and fix them. So the mistakes are going to, shine a light on what you don't know, and then you go back and fix it and you'll know more. And that's the path. Don't get frustrated that your design didn't work the first time. You're expected to debug it. Some of these designs are pretty simple, but they get pretty complicated. You are, like I said, expected to know your design well enough to debug it. You learn from mistakes. Like I said, get it back. You get it wrong, go back and fix it and learn something along the way. If you get it wrong, you're not dumb. We're in a learning process here. Mistakes are part of the design process, and I know you can do this. Just stick with it. Ask a lot of questions. So digital design in general is, I call it the designing of digital circuits so that you can solve problems. Many ways to solve problems. Digital design is solving problems with digital circuits. I see there's 3 areas of modern digital design, generally speaking. You can design PC boards, you could design integrated circuits, or you can program programmable logic devices. So what we're going to be doing in CPE 133 is programming an FPGA, field programmable gate array, which is a type of PLD, programmable logic device, and that's the whole course. No, we're not going to be wiring chips, which is a giant pain in the butt. In general, these are the digital courses. 133 is the first one. Then you go on to 233, which is computer design, assembly language programming. After that, you go into the embedded systems courses. So I have CPE 333 listed here, but that's an option for CPEs rather than 315. So that actually shouldn't be here. But after this 233, you're going to take an embedded systems course. And as time goes along, there's going to be lots of new great technical electives here. We've got some really young happening faculty that are way into it, and you will not be unpleased, particularly as time goes along and CPE gets established.